Are all fruits created equal when it comes to weight gain, inflammation, and PCOS? Absolutely not. And while some of my colleagues may push the, let's be friends line of everything in moderation, I am not that colleague. So in this video, we're gonna go over the 4 fruits I would like for you to avoid that can cause weight gain, inflammation, and can really add havoc to folks with PCOS. And don't worry, at the end of this video, I will give you the 1 fruit that passes the test on taste and on decreasing inflammation. I did a video that I'll link below talking about the 5 vegetables that you want to avoid if you have inflammation and that can definitely cause weight gain. And I followed those guidelines. And really the guidelines were very simple. I developed this list based on carb count. So we looked at the carb count of our fruit because we know that the higher carb diet that we follow, the higher weight gain that we'll have and that increase for inflammation. I also looked at something called the Glycemic Index. And the Glycemic Index is really related to how the food increases the blood sugar in our body, kind of what is that reaction. And really the Glycemic Index is used to measure how a food affects the blood glucose levels in our body. And if we remember, if we have these increases of blood glucose in our body, it has been shown to increase inflammation. And then we always look at the sugar in food. So those 3 things, I kind of made a list. I did a lot of comparisons, did a lot of research on this. And I just want to review the relationship of weight gain and inflammation. I always reference this study, but I love this study because it's a 16-year study. It followed 120,000 folks. It was done by the wonderful folks at Harvard that showed that folks who ate a high glycemic index diet, and we're not just talking about things like candy, sweets, and white bread. We're talking about refined grains, which everyone says we should eat, which we should not. And even some of our fruits and vegetables, those folks tend to weigh more than the folks who followed a lower GI diet. That relates to inflammation because, again, the higher GI foods can stimulate increases in our blood glucose levels, which can cause that inflammation. But how does PCOS tie into all this? Well, there's lots of great research that shows the comparison of folks who followed the same calories of a diet. So they took this group right here, hey, you're this many calories, this group right here, you're the same amount of calories, but you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna give this group over here lower GI foods. Holy cow, the results of that were phenomenal. The women who had PCOS and followed the lower GI diet had a 3-fold greater improvement in their insulin levels. Fantastic, phenomenal. And then a 2007 study in JAMA showed that individuals with high insulin levels who followed a lower GI diet lost more weight than those who followed a low-fat diet. The numbers, phenomenal. Low GI diet, 13 pounds lost, 10 pounds. Gang, 10 pounds off of your knees is like 40 pounds. That is off your joints. Amazing. Low GI, high fiber, it's what we do, keto and anti-inflammatory, and I wanna get into that list of those fruits you should avoid. But real quick on the GI diet, I wanna make sure folks know it's a scale of 0 to 100. While they say low GI is 50 and below, you know what? I'm an overachiever. I wanna go as low as possible. So some of our fruits are in that 50th range, but I'm like, bye-bye girlfriend. So here they are. No particular order. Mango. Okay, so mango is a 51 on the glycemic index, and some folks, especially my colleagues, are gonna be total haters about it. 1 cup of mango is about 25 grams of carbs. This is common in our smoothies and our shakes, so what can we do? You can add, a spritz of your lemon, the juice from your lemon. We really wanna cut this tropical fruit out of our lives. The next fruit that I would love to see folks avoid is pineapple. Pineapple has a score of 59 on the glycemic index level, and 1 cup of pineapple is 22 grams of carbs, which is equal to 1.5 slices of bread. And I know some folks said, well, the mango had higher carbs. Here's the issue with pineapple. If a cup is a serving, a lot of us aren't gonna eat that. We're gonna eat more. And that's really my problem that I have with fruits in general, is that we eat too much of it. We were kind of trained all our lives that fruit's okay, but we have all these problems now. And so it's like, hey, look at that portion. And for me, pineapple's one that's very hard to not portion because, we have to be honest, it does taste good. Next fruit is raisins. And this, I think a lot of folks know that raisins are a pretty high sugar item, but let me break it down for you because it can really get scary. They score 64 on the glycemic load, but 2 tablespoons of raisins is 15 grams of carbs, and that is your slice of your bread, gang. And here's where raisins kind of really get me mad. Everyone always says like, oh, if there's a chocolate chip cookie and an oatmeal raisin cookie, you should go for the oatmeal raisin one because it's healthier and the raisins are in there and it's a fruit. No. Not at all. Not at all. That's one of those myths that I love to debunk. The issue with raisins, again, is, 2 tablespoons, that's a really small amount. I see folks just like glob and glob raisins on their oatmeal, which we really don't do oats in here, but on those type of items, and I'm just like, man, if you use a dark chocolate chip, especially one that's stevia based, hello, that is so much better than the raisins. So that is my thing. It's like, use one of those stevia based dark chocolate chip, maybe like your Lily's, your Chalk Zero, because it's going to be lower in the glycemic index than the raisin. And then the next one, again, I'm preaching to the choir, is overripe bananas, but I'm bringing it up kind of similar to the way with the raisins. I can remember, and lots of us can, the all brand muffins and all the kind of desserts that folks will make, and they said, oh, replace the sugar and the oil with bananas. When in all actuality, if you were cooking with a good avocado oil, you were fine, which we really didn't do back in the day. So hopefully we used maybe 100% butter and not that disgusting margarine. But a lot of folks went to replacing all of their fats in their recipe and all of the sugar in their recipe with overripe bananas. And it really didn't do squat. In fact, it could have made things worse. Let me explain. So overripe bananas score a 51 on the glycemic scale. And folks will be like, oh, it's 50. But listen to this, a cup is about the same as about 50, and that's of your mashed banana. Holy cow, that's 1, 2, 3, 3.5 slices of bread. If I made a mistake, I'll have it across the screen. But gang, we really messed ourselves up when we did these awful fat-free oil replacers with the banana. Never do that again. Don't do that. Don't freeze the bananas. Don't throw them in your shake. Don't do it. Please don't do it. And our final fruit that I want folks to avoid is watermelon. Oh my gosh, it's one of the highest on the glycemic scale. It comes in at 72, and this is where folks will kind of argue because they're like, well, watermelon, the first word is water, so all watermelon is water. See, water is what comes from the faucet and from, I have a little thing on my refrigerator. It does not come from watermelon. Now, per cup, it's 12 grams of carbs, but here's the thing. Who eats a cup? That's the struggle bus that we're on with our fruit. Now, a lot of folks will say, well, what can I do? I do know a lot of folks in our clinic are keto because we may have to do it for certain disease states. And some of my folks don't eat fruit. We get enough vegetables that come on in, so that's great. A lot of folks will probably be upset that I said that. We do go up to a fruit a day. And the fruit that I really want you to focus on, coming closer, the fruit that I really want you to focus on is raspberries. Raspberries are low on the glycemic index scale, coming in at 32, and half a cup of raspberries is only 7 grams of carbs. Now, there's really promising research on raspberries and insulin release in the body. There was a study published in the Journal of Obesity. They did give individuals raspberries, and these individuals were really at risk to develop diabetes, so you can say pre-diabetic, and really had insulin resistance. And the study was very promising. And what's nice is they had a control group, so that control group was not given the raspberries. And what they found was the group that they gave the raspberries to showed that the glucose compositions were lower than the group that did not get the raspberries. Keep in mind, these raspberries were given with a meal. And when the raspberries were given with the meal, it showed the improvement in the insulin response. So really, the takeaway from this is that I am not one who pushes just snacking on fruits by itself. I do always encourage when we do our fruit to do it with a meal. And particularly, I really do push the raspberries because this is our nice study. And again, sticking with a half a cup will only give you 7 grams of carbs. All of our folks, we do carb counting so we can fit it in. But again, I don't want you to feel forced that you have to do this every day. I want you to work it in your own individualized plan. So what did you think of our list? Let me know below. And for your free 7-day keto and anti-inflammatory menu, scroll into the description box and click the link to sign up. Thanks.